Miles Buzelis is becoming the player that the Chicago Bulls need him to become at the right time, taking advantage of this opportunity to get more shots, to be a tone setter for the Chicago Bulls. Miles Buzelis isn't just being a good player, not just a lottery pick, but he is starting to set some tones. He's starting to look like a player that is a big part of the future, and that's exactly what the Chicago Bulls need and want to see from him during this stretch of a season where we're going to be tanking the rest of the way. And while the Bulls have been losing, something else has been happening quietly as well, and that's Miles Buzelis is slowly but surely starting to take over more and more. We're going to break down what that means, Billy Donovan's comments on the front office's mindset around the new players, and how Leonard Miller just forced himself into the conversation. Is he going to stay there? We're going to answer all that, plus dive into the mailbag right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Derek Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And yeah, man, the Chicago Bulls got their first victory since January, right? It's crazy when you look at that. The Milwaukee Bucks last night scored 31 points in the entirety of the second half of the game. The Bulls scored 36 in just the third quarter, so that lets you know how that went for them, right? But the second-year forward in Miles Buzelis scored 20 points, going 7 of 15 from the field. He hit 4 3-pointers as well. He grabbed 7 rebounds, dished out 3 assists, and added 2 blocks as well. The stat line that Miles Buzelis put up is a really solid stat line, and no, I'm not saying that a win over the Milwaukee Bucks in March all of a sudden changed the tide of the Chicago Bulls. No. But Miles Buzelis is doing something that we have called for him to do during this period of the Chicago Bulls. With everybody gone from the roster, and Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, Nikola Vucevic, right? And you replace those with players that may not even be part of the future for the Bulls. This is an opportunity for Miles Buzelis to really step up. This is why I say things like when Alt Vaughn, not Vaughn Savon, my brother, but Alt Vaughn calls in and complains about Miles Buzelis, who is a second-year forward. You know, you got to take some things into perspective. And what Miles Buzelis is doing right now in year 2 is comparable to some of the exact type of players that you want around the Chicago Bulls. Now, it's up for Miles to show that he can be that consistently. It's up to Miles Buzelis to show what he can be and how he can continue to grow. And, you know, the thing in it with this is I want Miles to take advantage of this opportunity, because when the Chicago Bulls do draft their draft pick, when they do rebuild their roster, right, when having and showing what you can do, it builds your confidence. It's building that going into the offseason. It gives you time to know what you need to work on in the offseason as well. And what Miles has to do is when those new players come in, keep in mind, Miles Buzelis is now the second longest tenured Bull on this roster, right along with Josh Giddey. Patrick Williams is the longest tenured Bull, and we know that Patrick Williams may not even be part of the future. But what you're seeing for Miles Buzelis is really good. And you're seeing a player that is definitely stepping up at the right times and taking advantage of things. This is Miles Buzelis' third straight game of at least 20 points, which isn't a huge sample size, but again, that's what you want to see from him during this time period. And so just to put it in perspective, and I'm just going to mention some players that I know Chicago Bulls fans love, right? And I've heard you guys talk about them. You guys have brought up, if we had a guy like that on the roster, XYZ, right? So I want to look at Miles Buzelis' second season. And keep in mind, unlike some of these players that we're going to bring up, Miles Buzelis came into his second season not at all planning to be the guy, right? That wasn't the plan for Miles Buzelis even in the second year. We knew he was going to be behind shots of Kobe White, Josh Giddey, maybe even Nikola Vucevic to a degree, right? Now, the thing that has definitely shifted now, as it should have, because, you know, with the way that the roster is gone, you want to see that shift forward. But, you know, some of these players that we're going to talk about, they were already high up in their team's shot chart and depth chart and things like that. But Miles Buzelis right now is having a better season than the first 2 years of Jalen Johnson. And even when you look at Jalen Johnson's first year, which Jalen Johnson didn't become a full-time starter until his third year in the NBA, Jalen Johnson in his third year, first year as a full-time starter, 16 points per game on 51% shooting from the field, 35% shooting from three. He averaged 8 rebounds per game, 3 assists, less than a block per game, and a steal and a half per game, which really good numbers. Miles Buzelis in only his second year, and a year which the majority of the year he was not the guy at all, is averaging 15.3 points per game on 47% shooting from the field, 36% shooting from three, 5 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, 1.5 blocks per game, and almost a steal per game, right? So you're putting Matas Buzelis' second year, and this is also his first year being a full-time starter from the beginning of the season. He started all 60 games he's played so far. Matas Buzelis is already ahead of a player that had 2 years to acclimate before they became a full-time starter, right? So when people, like I said, when people like Vaughn call in and like, you can only be this with Matas, you don't know. It's his second year in the league. It's impossible to know exactly who Matas Buzelis is going to be yet because it's only his second year in the league. Let's look at Franz Wagner, right? Who in his second year in the league played all 80 games. He was a starter all 80 games. He's been a starter literally since he came into the league. He's only had 2 games in his NBA career he has not started. Franz Wagner, 18 points per game on 48% shooting from the field, 4.1 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 0.2 blocks, which isn't even registered, and a steal per game in Franz Wagner's second year in the league. The difference in that is that Franz Wagner in his first year in the league averaged 12 shots per game. In the second year, 14 shots per game. Matas Buzelis is only averaging 11 shots per game his second year in the league. He only averaged 7 shots per game his first year in the league. So a pretty big difference there. Another player that a lot of Chicago Bulls fans like to go to is Paolo Banchero. Now, Paolo Banchero has been a scorer since he came into the league. His second year in the league, 20 points per game on 45% shooting from the field, 33% shooting from three. By the way, he's only a career 32% three-point shooter, 6.9 rebounds, 5.4 assists, and less than a steal and less than a block per game. But he was getting 18 shots per game in his second year in the league. What I'm saying to this is that development is already not linear, which most of level-headed fans know. Matas Buzelis, with less shots, not being as high up in a priority as any of those guys that we talked about the first year that they became starters. By the way, because I did not mention it, Jalen Johnson in his first year as a full-time starter averaged 12.5 shots per game. So there you go on that one as well. It's a much different task. Now, does Matas need to become more efficient? Absolutely he needs to become more efficient. Does Matas Buzelis need to deal with toughness and strength a little bit better? Absolutely. That's something that Billy Donovan pointed out as well. But let's keep in mind, even throughout the month of February, after the complete roster had changed, Matas Buzelis still only averaged 12.9 shots per game. So he still has not had the volume that some of those other guys. Matas Buzelis has never had a month of his career where he's averaged over 13 shots per game. He just has not. So what Matas is doing is learning with less opportunity. And I think when you look, and if you were to put his numbers out, which I don't like to do those type of numbers because I don't think those things always hold true, but if you were to make his shot attempts per game between Franz, Palos, and Jalen Johnson and what they do, you'd get similar production as far as the scoring. Now, Matas needs to become a better rebounder. He needs to deal with strength better, right? All those type of things are things that he needs to do. Now, if Matas actually moves to the 3 full-time, which is what a lot of Bulls fans want to see, those rebound per game numbers are perfectly solid if you're a 3. The problem is you're a 4, averaging almost less than 6 rebounds per game. So that's where Matas does need to take the step up, and that's where we need to see it, unless his full-time position does end up changing to the 3. But over this time right now, right, when you look at it as right now, Matas Buzelis leads Bulls in the following categories, right? He leads the Chicago Bulls in total minutes at 306, total points at 178, total rebounds at 63, total blocks at 16. This is from since the trade deadline happened. Field goals made, he leads the Chicago Bulls in that at 62. He leads us in total three-pointers made at 29. He's attempted the second most free throws as well for the Chicago Bulls also, which shows he is being more aggressive in getting to the free throw line. The fact of the matter is that objectively, Matas Buzelis has stepped up in a role that we knew that we did not expect for him to have coming into the season. Now, a lot of people wanted to see him have that role, but now that he is having it, he's playing much better in that case, and he's starting to show that again, right? So, while understandably, Bulls fans are starting more so to look at mock drafts and look at the prospects coming in and where the Bulls' odds are and all that type of stuff, let's not overlook the fact that Matas Buzelis is doing exactly what he needs to do in this time period, and that is stepping up into a large role for the Chicago Bulls. And that is something that I at least want to acknowledge here because it's not as easy as some people try to make it out to be. And while I think that Matas still has things that he would even tell you that he needs to work on, the thing is that we know that Matas is going to go in the lab. We know that Matas is going to spend his offseason at the Advocate Center. We already seen that. He did that his rookie year, coming into his second year. was there every single day. Modest Buzelis is somebody that is going to want to put in the work. And that is why he's somebody that, regardless of some of his shortcomings, whether it be defensively, rebounding, or anything else, I trust that Modest is going to put in the work to make those things not as big of weaknesses. Now, can he turn them into strengths? We'll see, right? I already talked about his on-ball defensive numbers have actually turned pretty damn good, here as the season has gone on. Once Modest adds the necessary strength, I think we got us one in Modest Buzelis. The level of which we'll see, right? But if you're talking about this offseason, adding a Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonsa, Cam Boozer, whoever else to this team, the future becomes bright when you also look at us having Josh Giddey here and what he's able to do as a facilitator and as a point guard. I think that's huge for this team. Now, moving on from that, a big question that a lot of Bulls fans understandably have is what's going on with this roster, right? Why are certain things used the way that they are? Now, we heard from Modest Buzelis, a couple of days ago when Modest said, we are not tanking. Everybody in this locker room is trying to fight hard and we want to win. Billy Donovan talked about management and what mandate, not mandate, that may be too strong of a word, but what management has talked to him about in regards to these new players. And he said this: the discussions I've had with the front office when the trade deadline was finalized was nothing has changed. Try to get these guys to play the best of their ability. We know it's going to be somewhat challenging with 7 new players. Even talking to ownership, it's been, hey, go out there and do your very best. There has been no indication from ownership or the front office of, hey, listen, if we finish here or here or here, listen, I don't worry about playing these guys. Just play these guys. There's been none of that at all. And so, listen, I don't think that there necessarily has been. Like, with what AK and Eversley and this whole front office did with the roster, you don't have to try to lose games. Right now, I do think that Billy Donovan's capping a little bit. I've seen some creative lineups from him where Modest is cooking and Modest has sat, from halfway through the third into close to the end of the fourth. It's been like, what are you doing there? Josh Giddey also hasn't been healthy. But so I do think there's a little bit of capping there because, again, nobody's going to admit outwardly to tanking, but he didn't have to answer the question. He also throws in this. Philosophically, I get the dynamics once June, whatever date the draft is. I get how that impacts all of that. It's not like I'm sitting over here saying, well, it's a close game right now. Let's sit Josh and Trey and Jalen. There's not been that. Call a little cap on that. And I think if I do that, they would say, listen, you need to put the best guys out there. So here's the thing, right? I do think that Billy Donovan is to some degree still trying to coach the way that he coaches. Now, do I think that there has been a little bit of creative lineup manipulation there? I do, and I'm not going to act like I don't think that there is, because I absolutely do think there's been some lineup manipulation out there, right? But I do think that Billy Donovan, like we've seen Billy, he's not just playing the bet. Like I would say this, it'd be more outwardly obvious if we saw Billy Donovan playing Rob Dillingham 30 minutes a game, and we're not seeing that. You know why? Because Rob Dillingham is not that good of a basketball player at this point. Has potential, but he's not that good of a basketball player. So Billy Donovan is still playing the players that make sense to play, giving where we're at and what we're trying to accomplish. But I do think that Billy Donovan is what he's basically saying here is saying, hey, I'm going to play these guys. I'm going to play them in a system that makes sense, and we're just going to figure it out after that. And I think to a degree we're seeing that, right? No Jalen, we're missing him. We're missing Jaden Ivey. We're missing Patrick Williams. We're missing a bunch of players. Trey Jones made his return last night. He played pretty solidly as well, being in that starting lineup for the Bulls. But we're not seeing where the Bulls are playing. They're not running lineups of Rob Dillingham, Leonard Miller, Patrick Williams, out there locking Albrecht for 25 minutes and then saying, hey, what do you mean we lost? What do you mean we're taking, right? But, we'll see how the players also adapt to that. One of the players that's had themselves 2 really solid games, but some of y'all are starting to overreact, but I do want to acknowledge it. Leonard Miller is showing that he has a chance to become a piece here. I'm not saying that he is. We had some Bulls fans in the post-game show yesterday saying, oh, my God, Leonard Miller is absolutely proven he needs to be. No, he's not done that yet. But yesterday was the most run that Leonard Miller got as a Chicago Bull. He scored 15 points on 6 of 8 shooting. That's 75% field goal percentage, 50% from 3, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and 1 steal in 27 minutes, which is a really solid stat line considering he was coming off the bench. The game prior to that, he played 23 minutes with 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 blocks. It's only 2 games, right? And I think that Bulls fans hopefully have learned from how they reacted to Ousmane Dieng, right? Ousmane Dieng had 2 good games with the Milwaukee Bucks, and everybody was like, oh, my God, the Bulls missed so drastically. And look, he's been absolutely quiet since that happened. So it's only a 2-game sample size so far. But Leonard Miller has a chance. At 22 years old, only his second year in the league, Leonard Miller has a chance now here to show and earn some minutes because Patrick Williams is out. And keep in mind, Leonard Miller is one of the few players that we have that are above 6'10". So he has some of that versatile forward game, 220 pounds. He's only 22 years old, right? So this is a player that was a second-round pick. Now he has an opportunity to go out here and show and have an opportunity to stick on the Chicago Bulls roster. Will he do it? I don't know. We'll see, right? But these 2 games, he's only played 6 games for the Bulls, the only 2 games of meaningful minutes. Let's see what Leonard Miller can do. While Patrick Williams is out, he is going to have himself an opportunity here. What can he do with that opportunity? I hope that Billy Donovan does give him more run because as long as he's playing like this, keep playing him. Like I believe in if somebody is showing you that they can play well, keep playing them until they prove you wrong. And so if Leonard Miller continues having solid games, he should stay in the rotation. That's my personal opinion. And if you do end up getting something to where even if he is just a solid bench piece, as a player that was a second-round pick and to throw in the trade, you can do a lot worse than that. So let's see what Leonard Miller has. I'm not ready to crown his ass yet like some Bulls fans are ready to do, but we got to see, and he's earned himself an opportunity here to show and prove if he can earn a more long-term role with the Chicago Bulls team. And if he does, great. If he doesn't, we'll see what that means. But all right, with that said, we got 2 voicemails overflow from the weekend. Let's go ahead and clear these out. This one's from Corn.
What's the good word, King Drip? It's your brother Corn, man. Let's get right into the bullshit right here, man. I got a question, man. And I already asked it. I asked you how many games you think we're going to win at the end of the season. You say 2 or 3. Now I got another question. Who is the team that you see us beating? Because I'm looking at this fucking schedule, Drip. What the fuck? I know the 4th toughest schedule left. This shit was like the first to me. Got the fucking Bucks today. Then on Tuesday we got Thunder. Thursday Suns. We might the only dub I see is getting is against the Kings March 8th. That's maybe the one that we can finally get a fucking W in the column. But then after that we got the Warriors, Lakers, Clippers, Grizzlies. We might could get the Grizzlies. We might could get the Raptors. And then after that, Cavaliers, Rockets, Sixers, Thunder again, Grizzlies again. Then the Spurs. This whole month of March is fucking insane. I see maybe 1 win in the month of March. Maybe 2 if somebody take a day off. The shit is real. And I hate it. I hate this shit. I understand it, but I fucking hate this shit. And this shit has better not be for nothing, Drip. This shit has better not been for fucking nothing. All these L's. You taking away our core players. This has better not been for nothing. We better get AJ. We better get Boozer. We better get my guy Darren Peterson. We better get whoever is in the top 5. We better get one of these motherfucking players. All of this shit was literally for, what is this for? This shit is, I'll be there, for your pregame. I know you probably gonna do no halftime. I'm always gonna show up for every Bulls game, but God damn, bro, this month of March is rough. I don't see us winning 1 game, to be honest. I just don't. But it is what it is. That's the question. Where do you see our next win, and what team do you see us beating, Drip? Because I only see the fucking Kings and maybe the Raptors and maybe the Grizzlies. All right, King Drip. All right, C-Red. Love y'all. Love you, bro. Peace.
Which teams will the Bulls beat the rest of the way? Well, they did get a win over the Milwaukee Bucks yesterday, and I do think they're just going to be out-tanked by some teams, just to word it that way, right? So when you look at the Bulls roster, these are the teams that I think that we can pencil in that the Bulls are going to get wins against, right? So we have a game against the Sacramento Kings. I've always had that penciled in as a win for the Bulls. Most of their roster's dead. They're just not going to be playing, right? And then we have 2 games each against Memphis, 2 games against them, 2 games against the Washington Wizards. There's a big chance that the Bulls win one of each of those games against those, maybe both of them against one, maybe none against the other. But I still think that's at least 3 to 4 more wins coming. So I think that's what you're looking at. And also the Bulls' strength of schedule is dropped now to 14th. They have the 14th toughest schedule the remaining way at this point in time. But I think the Kings, 2 games against Memphis, 2 games against the Wizards. That's 5 games there. They can win 3 or 4 of those games. I think is what we can look at. And there's probably going to be some surprising wins in there as well. Like, don't forget, April basketball, with teams that have their playoff seeding and stuff locked up, they're probably going to be sitting a lot of their players. We may see a lot of G League players in that one, and the Bulls may get some wins in that one too. So that's where I'll say, my prediction was 5 wins the remaining way for the Chicago Bulls. We got 1 so far, and that's kind of where I got things penciled in at. All right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one's from Caden.
What up, Hayes, man? It's your boy, Caden, again. I like to start every voicemail I send by thank you for everything you do. I gotta agree with my boy Shay when he was saying that the fans rooting for tanking are dumbasses. I think that's true, but that's not what I'm here for. I could deal with 22 games of a tank because honestly, I watched the Bulls during the Walt Lemon Jr. years, and if you was there, you know. If you wasn't there, then you don't know. But anyway, my point here is I think that AK and Mark Eversley are taking a risk that it doesn't have a high chance of paying off. They're risking everything on what seems to be a single off season. And I'm not saying he's not, but they're risking everything on thinking that Modest is going to be everything that they think he is. And while I fully believe in Modest and I think he's going to be everything he wants to be, that could also turn out to not be true. And then where are we? Because I don't think Josh Giddey, for as good as he is, and I do think Josh Giddey is great, I don't think he is the guy on the team. I don't think we have the guy. And you're banking on lottery luck in order to get the guy, because you're not going to find anybody in this free agent class that's the guy. And I know you could put together a solid team, but where does that get you? That gets you back in 9th place, 8th place, 7th place. That gets you back to the play-in. So what would have been the purpose of trading off the entire team if you just don't end up back where you are? I think they're taking a risk, and I really want to see what comes of it, because it could work out. It could explode, and we end up being, in 2 years, I don't think next year, but 2 years, 3 years down the road, we could end up being a contending team, and it could all work out. But I think they're taking a risk, and honestly, I think at the end of this risk, where they may not have a job. And so let me know what you think about all of that. Let me know what you think about the Modest piece. Man, again, thank you for everything you do. It's your boy, Caden, man. I'm up out of there.
Here's the way that I look at it, Caden. You want to compile the best talent that you can, meaning that between the draft, free agency, get the best talent that you can, build the best team that you can. And then you want to look and say, hey, we hope that one of these guys in this roster becomes the guy. And if they don't become, as you say, that guy, then if you build a good enough roster, we've seen it. That guy can come. Like, go and look at it with, the Bulls before we drafted Derrick Rose. We had Ben Gordon, Luol Deng, Andre Snowshioni, Kurt Heinrich, those guys. And you added a guy like Derrick Rose to that roster, and then we took off and became one of the best teams in the East, right? We were already one of the toughest teams in the East. So I think that you can't go in and be like, oh, we just need to get that guy. Nothing matters until we get that guy. That's the mindset that some fans have. I don't believe in that. You build the best roster that you can. And because so many of our players are going to be young, right? Especially if we get the Portland pick, you're going to have 2 young players that you're adding to this team. Your hope is that some of those guys over the next 2-3 years start looking like they can become the guys. Well, with Modest and Noah, that you hope that they can start becoming the guy. And if not, then let's hope that you've built something good enough where those players are good enough that eventually somebody looks at it and say, listen, I like what Chicago's doing. Let me go over there to Chicago. Let me take this team over the top. And I think that's what you have to hope for. And of course, you want to hope that one of your guys turns into that guy. But if not, you hope that you build something good enough to then you could attract that guy differently. And so that's kind of my mindset, Caden. But great, amazing voicemail there, man. I want to thank everybody who left voicemails in on this. But at the end of the day, right, Bulls fans, let's remember, the record doesn't define the stretch. It's not about the record anymore. It's about clarity. Modest is starting to look like a building block. Leonard Miller is showing that he has some real potential, and we'll see what happens there. Billy Donovan says that ownership is not signal taking. I don't know if I believe that as well, but the biggest question that remains is this rebuild finally going to point the Bulls into the right direction? And we won't know that probably for another year fully, because we'll have to see what the rookie we draft and how it looks like this team is going. And we'll see, right? Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See Red if you can, y'all. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.